So guys, I'm basically here to educate you guys on rib compression. So rib compression is something that I've recently understood and put into my training and has really helped me understand um, to give me like a really good basis on how to target my muscle groups. I'd say that it's been growing traction, but I don't really think that like many people have tapped into it, and I think it's something that's still pretty niche. Many beginners and even elite lifters don't even understand the basis of rib compression and how this can affect your training. So in short, rib compression is not great and you want to avoid it as much as you can, especially if you have the goal of hypertrophy. I've noticed since implementing this that areas such as my chest and shoulders feel way better, and I've also grown due to this new standardized form. What is it? And I'll explain that for you. So basically, rib compression is the act of keeping your body neutral. This basically reduces any sort of arch that you have into your training that is keeping you quite small at the moment. Now, why is this keeping you small, you might say? Well, arching is something that is really used by powerlifters or people with strength focus in mind in order to reduce their range of motion and lift as heavy as they can. Using this technique is pretty efficient for them because arching really minimizes the range of motion and places a lot less emphasis on the muscles that you want to target. For example, if you watch like a powerlifter bench press, they will have a very high chest and really arch their back as much as they can. In comparison to a bodybuilder, like maybe if you watch Jay Cutler, he keeps a really flat back, keeping all of the tension on his muscle. And basically he's keeping his ribs in line with his hips, which places a larger emphasis on the chest, especially if your primary goal is to build like a massive chest, or something like Jonathan Joestar or some shit. Okay, so how are you going to achieve this position? So for pressing movements, you want to keep your whole back on the bench, even your lower back. And if this is hard for you, you can achieve this by sticking your head out as forward as you can, which makes it harder for your back to lift up. And if it's still hard for you, you can keep your feet on the bench. You can see me achieving this by sticking my head forward, and you can see from the top of my chest and my ribs, they are really, really flat, almost in line with the bench. While my entire back sits flat on the bench. Now, the other main movement you're probably going to want to do with this form is a pulling movement such as the lat pull down. A good cue to use is to look forward and pull down with your elbows. When you look forward, it really reduces chest expansion and keeps your core relatively tight, allowing for your back to stay straight and focus on pulling straight down with the elbows. And while I'm here, I might as well explain it, but basically during a lat pull down, you want to pull straight down and in front of you to completely engage the lats rather than the upper back and rear delts. And this can only be achieved in a stacked position, pulling straight down with no arching. Now, honestly, rib compression isn't as big as a deal that many science-based dudes say. So I'm going to use a natural example. So if you look at someone like Lex Little, he doesn't really follow this ordeal, but as you can see, he still has a really good physique. An area that he has said he's literally been lacking himself was his chest. Even though his chest and bench is strong as shit, we're literally talking about in the 400s here, at the time he still didn't have the greatest chest. Yes, this does come down to a lot to genetics, but also using less of an arch and a more stacked position would have allowed him to target his chest a lot more. But still it's Lex and he's a GOAT, and I know powerlifting and lifting heavyweight is a big part for him, and he was just the first example that really came to my mind. On the other hand, you have a lifter such as Clark Kent, who has been training for a really long time while in a stacked position. If you watch any of his lifts, you see that he really doesn't arch a lot, and his body is always stacked at all times without flaring. He also has a great genetics, but this shows in his physique as he really doesn't have any noticeable weak points, as every lift that he does is pretty hyperfixated on the muscles that he's targeting. If you watch him do a chest fly, you can see that he really squeezes and keeps his lower back flat on the pad, and really emphasizing the contraction on his chest. You can see even when he's pushing, the air really coming out of his shirt from the correct movement in his chest. And if you're going to look at someone else, like if you really want to study it, Look at TNF, his form is pretty good. He's always using a stacked position. Okay, but that's all from me. Hopefully you guys learned something new, and hopefully you can build a better mind-muscle connection with some of these exercises. If you guys got any questions, just let me know in the comments. There's only like a few of you, so I'll be able to get back to you pretty easily. Also, Happy New Year's, everyone. Hope this year we can really achieve great things. So I guess I'll see you guys in the next video.